It is a wonderful Sunday, so you know what that means. That means we are going to go through, we are going to get some questions answered, we are going to talk some Dynasty Fantasy Football strategy, we are going to talk some Dynasty Fantasy Football trades, and of course, we want to have fun while we're doing this. We want to make this enjoyable every single day for myself as well as the people watching. So we will have a draft going on in the background. Let's go hop in here. This is going to be a $25 buy, and I'm sure that most people know what this is by now. There are 11 spots open. So instead of showing all that, let me just go ahead. Let's pull up the chat. Let's not waste any time. And if you are new to the channel, what I would ask is go down there, smash that like, even if you're not new. But if somehow, some way you are new to this channel, go subscribe. We talk Dynasty Fantasy Football every single day. And I want to say that we're okay at it, okay? I'm not going to tell you that we're good at it. I'm not going to tell you that we're great. I don't want to lie to you, but we're okay. We're okay. Okay, so let's see some people. We got Chase, Dominic, Chris, Braden, Ashton, Matt, James. A lot of people out here. Thank you so much. Matt coming out with our first question, I believe. Says, why are you so low on DK Metcalf? If you go through and if you look at the quarterback situation that he's going to have this upcoming season, if we look at the fact that this is a wide receiver that earlier in the offseason in Dynasty was still going in the second round of Dynasty startup drafts. The man was the wide receiver 30 last year on a points per game basis with 10 freaking touchdowns. Okay. Now I will say some of the underlying metrics for DK Metcalf show us that obviously the man is an elite talent. Obviously with DK Metcalf, you have to be excited about the player. He actually had 26% of his team's targets this past season. That's gone up every single year since his rookie season. So great player, horrible situation. If you want to go ahead and if you want to draft him now in Dynasty startups or trade for him now that his price has come down significantly to where he's going in the 4th round of startups, Superflex, of course, that makes sense. That makes sense. And honestly, it's hard for me to say that I'm lower on DK Metcalf than where he's going now in the 4th round. So I was very low on him at the beginning of the offseason, but now it's whatever. Now, our next question coming out from Chris says, my Debo and Gabriel Davis for Stefan Diggs and Mike Williams in a PPR format. Obviously, Gabriel Davis, a younger option. Gabriel Davis, a wide receiver that people think they can build around for a very long time. I think very similarly, Gabriel Davis is the almost exact opposite of DK Metcalf. With Gabriel Davis, the best situation you could ever imagine. There are like 180 targets available now that you have no Emmanuel Sanders. You have no Cole Beasley. But it's Gabriel Davis. He was not able to beat out Emmanuel Sanders at 34 years old for that wide receiver 2 job in Buffalo. Like, they're going to be throwing the ball a crap ton. That's exciting. It's exciting that he has a Josh Allen as well. But I think we're just going to go ahead and we're going to take, I mean, Mike Williams is in a great situation as well. Mike Williams is playing with Justin Herbert. And if you're getting Stefan Diggs on top of that, it'd give you Stefan Diggs and Mike Williams. Let's go through. James says, would you trade Rashad Bateman for Jerry Judy? Personally, I would. I think if you're looking at them as prospects, they're both respectable prospects. And I will say, I have to eventually stop talking about this. I know some people are finally waking up, even though we've been talking about this for God knows how long. But in my opinion, Jerry Judy's the wide receiver 1 in Denver. I know, like, you're going to see this real money 2022 fantasy football draft get kicked off. You'll probably have Courtland Sutton going in round 3. You will see some crazy Courtland Sutton hype here. But if we look at the 11 games that Jerry Judy and Courtland Sutton have played together, Courtland Sutton has averaged 4.5 points per game in a PPR format. 4.5. That's an 11-game sample. That's a pretty large sample size. And on top of that, if we are looking at it, while I know you can say, okay, Mason, you clown, you have no idea what you're talking about. They had Teddy Bridgewater. How could you ever be productive with Teddy? Okay, first off, ask DJ Moore that question. That's disrespectful to our guy, DJ Moore. And second off, hell, Jerry Judy, almost 4 years younger, almost doubled Courtland Sutton in points per game during that stretch. So I personally am going to be going out of our way to overpay for Jerry Judy. I think that the quarterback upgrade with Russell Wilson helps them both. But let me give a shout out to some people that are in this draft with us. We have Noah out here. We have Zach. And I think Rummy as well. We have 3 people part of the flock in this draft. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe there's an extra guy. But let's go ahead and let's just fire up someone we were previously talking about. Let's go Stefan Diggs at the 107. If you were confused on why I'm going Stefan Diggs over Derrick Henry, please just wait for it. I promise you we are going to get running back values later on. We can get David Montgomery in the 5th. And possibly get Josh Jacobs in the 6th. Like, running back values will be ridiculous later on. That's why I'm willing to push up those elite level wide receivers at the very top of the draft. Now, Thomas says, did you succeed to fill out the puppy? No, sadly, I did not get all our entries in. But, I mean, congrats on the Underdog for what? Having like 111,000 drafts? Like over 100,000 drafts in like, what, 2 weeks? Crazy, crazy. Okay, so let's find our next one. Giddy Up says, hey, yo, what would you add on top of Michael Pittman for Travis Etienne in a 10-team start 10 league? I would say right now, if you're looking at the Michael Pittman Jr. hype, if you're looking at the Michael Pittman Jr. value, you're not having to add on too much. Obviously, you can't go out there and add on a first. I would be willing to... I don't even think you have to add a second on. Like, if you have a marginal wide receiver, like if you have someone like McCole Hardman, I'm definitely adding that. But Pittman... Like in this draft, you're going to see Michael Pittman go in the middle of the 3rd. Like, people are pumped with Pittman. He's being drafted as a low-end wide receiver 1 in a redraft. And the man was what? Drafted in 2020? Like, I don't necessarily think you have to add too much. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Etienne says, send Kenneth Walker and a future first for Travis Etienne. And it, oh my God. I don't know how many rants I have to go on for this. But please, for the love of God, do not... And I can't stress this enough. Do not be trading for 2025 picks. If you're trading for 2025 picks in your league, I am worried that your league is not going to make it to 2025. I think that's a very bad rule that your commissioner has set up. I think you shouldn't be able to trade for picks that far out in advance. I know it's tiring going through this every live stream. So please bear with me. I understand. But let's go through this thought process. Like, legitimately, how long ago in your life did it feel like you had the Los Angeles Rams playing the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl? Felt like forever ago. We made it halfway through the offseason. That's half of the offseason. Maybe we're like 75%, but regardless, you get my point. We are not even through this offseason. And then for you to see that 2025 pick come around, you're going to need to play through the entire 2022 season. Then you are going to have an entire offseason in 2023. So we have another 100 days till the 2022 season starts. Then you have to go through the entire season. Then you have to go through an entire other offseason in 2023. Then you have to go through the entire 2023 football season. Then you have to go through the entire 2024 offseason. Then you have to go through the entire 2024 season. Like, do you understand? Like, think about what you were doing 3-4 years ago and how different your life is now. Are we sure that this league's going to be around if your commissioner's letting teams trade picks that far out in advance, possibly just completely ruining a team? So no, I do not like that idea. And Tanner says, are we going to go Jerry Judy or DJ Moore? We have to go DJ Moore. If you look at DJ Moore just being a freaking target hog, I mean, legitimately a target hog in Carolina for what? The past 3 seasons. Like, let me pull up DJ Moore's chapter. We actually just wrote this in our draft guide. But DJ Moore, everybody's named Moore. Let's go through Rondell. Let's go. Okay, so DJ Moore, his target share over the past 3 years, 22%, 23%, 27% this past season. If we look at the amount of players that have commanded that level of target share at 24 years or younger and did it through 12 games, Odell Beckham Jr., 2014. DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, AJ Green, Mike Evans. Mike Evans did it twice. Jarvis Landry and DJ Moore. Like, dear God. DJ Moore is just a freaking baller. Obviously in a horrible situation, though. Okay, so let's move this up real quick. Let's go ahead, find our next guy. Okay, so I'm assuming we go Barkley if he makes it. Of course, we're going Barkley if he makes it. I'm fine Barkley or A.J. Brown, to be honest. It would be really nice if we get A.J. Brown here and then somehow Jalen Hurts makes it back to us at the 606. But I'm fine with either one. Noah, you do you. Looks like we are going to get Saquon Barkley This is what I was talking about when we passed on Derrick Henry in round 1. This running back value later. Guys, so I've done over 200 real money fantasy drafts this offseason. I think we have an idea of what we're doing up to this point. I mean, here, would you rather have the combination of, say, Michael Pittman and Dalvin Cook or Stefan Diggs and Saquon Barkley? In my opinion, it's an easy decision. In my opinion, I'm easily going to be going with Mr. Saquon Barkley and Stefan Diggs. The running back value is just crazy. And real quick, we haven't said this yet. I'm only going to say this once this live stream. Please, if you have not done so already, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Get into these drafts with me. It's the most fun thing you could ever do. That's why I've done over 200 of them this offseason. They're real money fantasy football drafts. And when you go and sign up and use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. Not only will they match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100, you'll get my Dynasty rankings. You'll get my Dynasty rookie rankings. You will get my Dynasty rookie draft guide, literally with the $10 deposit. That's like $50 worth of value. And oh crap, this is, trust me, Underdog's not paying me to show you this player prop. They are paying me for the drafts, obviously. But I have to do this just for everybody who's already signed up. I know most people don't tag over to their pick'ems, but they're doing a special line right now. They do this like once a week. A special line for Draymond Green on Monday's game. Essentially just take the over. They know they're going to lose money on it, but they do it to get people to sign up. Okay, so let's find our next question. This one's coming out from... Piano says Elijah Moore and a future second for DK Metcalf. Okay, we just got done talking about DK Metcalf being in a very bad situation, but hell, Elijah Moore is maybe in a worse situation. I don't want to say that, but keep in mind with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett's not going to be there forever, and they can potentially make a play at quarterback to get a Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, with Zach Wilson, he's locked in with that rookie deal. I mean, they've made that investment. I want to say that Zach Wilson's most likely a bad quarterback. I will be on the record saying that. And if we go ahead and we project out, Garrett Wilson's the wide receiver 1 in New York. So I'm not looking for the wide receiver 2 in a bad offense. I would take DK Metcalf, and I'd be willing to pay the second. Okay, so Robbie says, trade Jalen Hurts for Russell Wilson and a 2025 second. Okay, we already went through our rant with 2025 picks, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to say, oh, do I want Jalen Hurts or Russell Wilson? And if you were doing this at any other position, it would be hilarious because we're looking at Jalen Hurts going into his second year starting, and I am drafting Jalen Hurts way before. I'm drafting him way before Russell Wilson in redraft leagues. Like, you don't be surprised in this league on Underdog if I go ahead. Ooh, who do we want? Let's just grab Zeke. If I go and draft Jalen Hurts 2 rounds before Russell Wilson goes off the board, I think if you look at his rushing upside, Jalen Hurts is someone that's easy to project out, given the fact that this is a quarterback that last year had, like 6 games with 200 passing yards. Despite that, he was almost a top 5 quarterback on a points per game basis. That's what that rushing upside gives you. So from an immediate standpoint, I prefer Jalen Hurts. And he's younger. But it's hilarious because in Dynasty, I would rather have Russell Wilson. And I know that's so dumb, but at the quarterback position, age just simply doesn't really mean anything to me. And on top of it, if we're looking at the team investment made into both players, if we look at the longevity that Russell Wilson has had, I'm a lot more comfortable projecting Russell Wilson to be a starter in 2023, in 2024, than I would be with Jalen Hurts. So I'm personally going to go Russell Wilson in Dynasty, Jalen Hurts in redraft, even though Jalen Hurts is younger. So I know we're probably looking like an idiot, but it is what it is. And our next one, Baca says he smashed a like in the live stream. Thank you, my man. I don't know why, but these Dynasty live streams get way more likes than our regular fantasy football drafts live streams. I mean, like over half of y'all have smashed a like when we've been streaming for like 10 minutes. And our next question coming out from Derb says, Sammy Watkins or Nico Collins for Dynasty. I think if you're looking at both wide receivers, it's only a pick for this year. Obviously, Nico Collins going into year 2, a lot younger, but this is a wide receiver that I don't necessarily think stands out in terms of his talent. I think that you wouldn't be surprised if they just rotate through. He's always just a guy, and you're not even talking about Nico Collins in 2023. So I want to say Sammy Watkins still has a shot to get cut. Like, I know that Sammy Watkins is getting decent reports coming out of camp right now. I probably go Collins, but it's close. I mean, they're in the same tier. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Sebastian says, hey, Mason, love the channel. Have 3 and 5 in our 1 quarterback rookie draft. Who should I be targeting? Already tried moving up to the 101, not taking it. Okay, so if we're going to go through, if we're going to look at pick 3, and pick 5. How I currently rank the top 5 players in your Dynasty rookie drafts, assuming you're playing in a 12-team league where we can start 5 wide receivers or more. Okay, so we need 3 starting wide receiver slots and 2 flex. Or you could be looking at a 12-team league that, say, starts 2 wide receivers and then has 3 flex. Either or, doesn't really matter. 101, Breece Hall. 102, Drake London. 103, Treylon Burks. 104, Garrett Wilson. 105, oh dear God, this is a beautiful freaking team. We're going to go Lamar here in the 5th. But 105, Kenneth Walker. I am going to be a little bit lower on Kenneth Walker. Now, if it's a shallower format where you can't start all of those wide receivers that we were talking about, hell, yes, go through and you can slide Kenneth Walker up to 2. It's just going to depend on your league. I mean, here you're saying it's a 1 quarterback format. So if it's a 1 quarterback format, I wouldn't be too surprised if it's shallow as well and you don't have extra flex spots. Okay, so Ashton says Dalvin Cook or Cam Akers in Dynasty. In Dynasty, I think I am going to prefer Akers. Like, it's weird. Like, on Underdog, Cam Akers, his price point has come down a lot now. Like, you're seeing him go in the 5th. But at the beginning, when these drafts opened up, he was going in the 3rd consistently. And I was never drafting him there. He was going as, like, the running back 15 on Underdog, despite in Dynasty. The man, according to Keep Trade Cut, is that like what, running back 18? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you're paying more for Cam Akers in redraft than you are in Dynasty. And I'm looking at the player saying, okay, he was the youngest running back in that 2020 draft class. This is a running back that in 2023 will be 2 years removed from the torn Achilles. I don't think it'll be something we need to worry about anymore. And on top of it, while yes, they brought in Kyron Williams this year, we have to look at their depth chart and understand, why did they bring in Kyron Williams? Is it that they lost out on Sony Michel? Is it that they also don't have Darrell Henderson under contract in 2023? For those reasons, I'm a lot more excited about Cam Akers in Dynasty than I actually would be in redraft. So I'm just having to clarify, because I know I'll go out there on the redraft channel and talk about, oh, Cam Akers, you shouldn't be drafting him in the 3rd. Pass on him in the 3rd. And then in Dynasty, I'll be like, oh yeah, let's go trade for Cam Akers. So no, it sounds stupid, but it's all about a price point, of course. Now, a drunk Squidward coming out says, would you trade Antonio Gibson in a future 2nd for Breece Hall? Hell yes, I'd do it. I mean, with that team going out, re-signing J.D. McKissick, I think the odds that we have a breakout in terms of receiving game usage for Antonio Gibson, I don't know if they're likely. And on top of it, they signed Brian Robinson, indicating that maybe they just have concerns with Antonio Gibson leading all running backs last year in fumbles. Not great. So I would go ahead and I would get Breece Hall, a top 5 Dynasty running back for me. Luke coming out in the chat. We got Noah out here in the chat. Thank you guys for coming. And I don't love the Juju Smith-Schuster value here. Like, Juju's a player that 9 times out of 10 I'm avoiding in these drafts. The man got paid $2.5 million. And maybe I'm just burnt. Maybe if y'all don't know this about me, I got to let you know. Remember, in 2018, after that season, Juju Smith-Schuster was a top 10 Dynasty pick. And there were some smart people coming out and saying, oh, okay, no, yeah, Juju, he has off-the-field concerns. He's not too motivated for football. Juju not only with that, but Antonio Brown is what had him succeed to such a high level. And I was, in 2018? It was like my 2nd or 3rd year in college. And I was just sitting there being so little pissy and tweeting at people going, oh, you idiot. No, Juju Smith-Schuster, he's going to be great. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's going to be fantastic. You could make the argument he's the Dynasty wide receiver 1 over. Oh, it's crash and burn. It crashed after 2018, obviously, in 2019. And he was still going in like a late round 1 of Dynasty startups, early round 2. And I was sitting there another year in college, just a little angry man going, oh, you freaking turds. Y'all need to be drafting Juju Smith-Schuster everywhere you can. The best value. Like, I've lost a lot of money on Juju Smith-Schuster. I've looked dumb with Juju Smith-Schuster. I've told people to value Juju way higher than they should have. So maybe I'm burnt, but when he's going at the beginning of the 5th round, I'm probably going to be avoiding that in drafts. But based on the situation, we actually talked about it on a redraft channel in terms of the adjusted yards per attempt for Patrick Mahomes and trying to identify wide receivers that values in great offenses. He does fit that build. Okay, so let's go through, find our next question. This next one coming out from King says, Hopkins and a 1st for Drake London on a rebuilding roster. This would give me 7 2023 first and 2 2023 seconds. I would take DeAndre Hopkins in the 1st because I think once Hopkins comes back from suspension, we could potentially take Hopkins in a 2nd and then go flip that for a 2023 first as well, which I'd be very interested with. Okay, so Alex says Najee Harris in a future third or Travis Etienne, Jahan Dotson, and a future second. Etienne was a player that I loved in rookie drafts last year. I mean, I was hyping him up way too much. I mean, talking about how I was an idiot with Juju Smith-Schuster. Oh boy, I was an idiot with Etienne as well. I was telling people to draft Travis Etienne over Kyle Pitts in rookie drafts last year. Like, it was bad. It was ugly, but come on. Najee Harris just came out there and dominated. Najee Harris literally had a Derrick Henry level workload, plus he catches the ball. So we're going to go Najee Harris. Okay, so let's go through. And we have a donation coming out from Cole. Thank you. It says, major fan, thoughts on my PPR Dynasty team. We got Herbert, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Dallas Goddard, Javonte Williams, and Chris Godwin. Okay, so we can go through. You have a top 5 quarterback in Justin Herbert. That's undeniable. You have a top 5 running back when healthy in Christian McCaffrey, a low-end running back 1 with Saquon Barkley. You have a couple wide receiver 1s with Mike Evans and Keenan Allen. You have another wide receiver 1 when he comes back and is healthy, and Chris Godwin. Dallas Goddard. What's interesting about Goddard is if you look at the yards per route run last year, Dallas Goddard was almost at the very top of the NFL. It was surprising to see that because Dallas Goddard mainly had an uninspiring season. Now, I am concerned with Goddard now that you have A.J. Brown coming over. I think A.J. Brown coming over is going to hurt his target share overall, even if it helps the offense, even if it's a better passing environment. I really like the team. I think what you do is go into the season and essentially say, hell, if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, I'm the favorite in this league. If Christian McCaffrey goes down due to injury, then Saquon Barkley starts slow, then maybe we have to have a fire sale and we maybe have to sell Mike Evans and Keenan Allen immediately. But as of now, it looks like a pretty damn good roster going into the season to contend. Okay, so let's go find our next question here. This next one coming out from... Sorry, lost our spot. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody's. I believe Tyler says, Josh Jacobs, Kadarius Toney, and a future first for Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Hopkins on a contending team. Yeah, I'd make the deal. I think you make the argument. Actually, it's damn close. On a contending roster, I would. The issue is it could go real bad for you. It is in the range of outcomes for Josh Jacobs to be worth more than Christian McCaffrey in Dynasty next year. Not likely, but it's possible. Not likely at all, but it is possible. And then if you're also getting a first on top of it, like if CMC goes down, you're just risking so much there. But if you're a contender, obviously the deal has a ton of upside. We're going to take Treylon Burks, pick 90. Not worried about the training camp reports. Not worried at all. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Nick says, hey, Mason, I have a startup in an hour and a half, 12-team PPR Superflex tight end premium. I pick 10th with a third-round reversal. Who would you target with your first few picks if you were me? Okay, so if we're looking at pick 10, I probably wouldn't go Watson. If you would have asked me this a month ago, I would have been like, oh, if Deshaun Watson, they are the best value in the draft. Like, I would have been stupid and I would have told you that. But what I would probably look to do instead is see if we get someone like Lamar. Maybe you get Kyler, probably not. But if you could get one of those top end quarterbacks making it a 10, it's an auto pick. At the beginning of the second, I'm sorry I'm still saying this. I'm going to go with Watson, a quarterback that on a points per game basis, he has a higher floor and ceiling combination than any other quarterback in fantasy that we have seen over the past decade. Literally the only guy from a season to season standpoint that has been able to put up the same floor and ceiling combination as Deshaun Watson has been Patrick Mahomes. He's the only player we've seen it from. Only player that we have seen it from. So in Dynasty, I'm willing to swing for the fences. I think stay young with your first pick. Like, obviously, don't go ahead and take someone like Cooper Kupp, then pair him up with Watson either in the second or the third round, because if you take Watson, you possibly have to be prepared to just fully punt this season and play for 2023. But I think it is viable. So just stay young. I think you honestly try to catch the falling knife with either Deshaun Watson at the second pick or at the beginning of the third. Okay, so Joe says, sold basically my entire team for 9 2023 first. I traded all my current and future picks. What? My whole team except Pitts, Devontae Smith. Okay, so I am a little confused here. If you went ahead and you traded all your future picks to stack up 2023, what? No. The first thing you do when you're trading for future picks and you're punting, you need to hold on to your picks because those picks probably going to end up being the 101. You want to hold on to them. You want them to be the 101. So a little confused in that, right? But overall, the team's going to be great, man. I mean, when you have that elite level tight end, when you have the tight end one in Kyle Pitts, and on top of it, you're going to have so much flexibility by the time you get to the season. Like, even if you didn't want to go through and wait until 2023, if Kyle Pitts starts off red hot, he's the tight end one overall. Javonte Williams breaks out as a top 5 running back. Devontae Smith is the top 24 wide receiver. And you're sitting there going, you know what? This team's horrible, but we could make a play. There are a couple contending rosters that are dying for 2023 first. Then you could honestly potentially swing it to contend this year, but probably not doing that. Probably just sitting tight, and you're in a great spot. Okay, so let's look at this. We're just going to continue to take the value that falls to us. We're going to go Lazard and send up a prayer that we get Aaron Rodgers on the way back. Probably not happening, but I think if we're looking at that research we did on that redraft channel, I don't think Allen Lazard's a good wide receiver. I think the fact that he's going like 2 rounds before Christian Watson in these is ludicrous. I think it's absurd, but we do want to be trying to attack wide receivers in great offenses. Okay, so let's find our next one. This is coming out, I believe, from James says, would you trade Rashad Bateman for Jerry Judy? Yes, we already answered that. Zach says, traded a 2023 first for Josh Jacobs and a future second. 12-team Dynasty Superflex. Also have Swift and McLaurin for Mixon and Godwin. I'm contending this year. So you're moving Swift for, I think that extra pick that you need to get with the Swift and McLaurin for Joe Mixon and Chris Godwin deal, I think it needs to at least be a second as well. Like if you're moving off from Swift, most people are viewing DeAndre Swift as either the running back 2 or the running back 3 in Dynasty right now. With Joe Mixon, yes, still incredibly young, only 25, but hell, he was drafted in 2017. He's going into year 3 of his second contract. You're going into year 3 of your second contract. At some point, we're going to need to be concerned, regardless of what your age is, at the running back position. In particular, I think you're possibly getting a downgrade moving from, you're getting Godwin. Okay, good. But I would say in Dynasty value terms, most people have Terry McLaurin and Godwin almost in a similar tier. So if we're looking at this, I like the concept of it. I just think you need a little bit more juice. Okay. So now our next question coming out from Edward says, would you trade Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, Sky Moore in a future first, a 2025 first? Oh, dear God, man. What are you doing? For Sammy Watkins, Sammy Watkins is just a throw-in. Let's remove him for the deal. So you're essentially trading a 2025 first, Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, and Sky Moore for Jamar Chase in a second. That's the move. I would say regardless of the value, almost the worst thing you could ever do is go out of your way and trade a 2025 first. Like I said, you have no idea how your team's going to perform this year. There's so much variance in fantasy football season to season. Like I want to sit here and act like I'm a genius, but in reality, like how much are we going to get wrong? And a lot of it's out of our control too. I mean, how many injuries that we will see? You had Dobbins, you had Travis Etienne going down before the season even started last year. Like trading 2025 first when we don't even know exactly what's going to happen this year. You have no idea what your team's going to be looking like in 2024. No idea whatsoever. Man, I don't like it. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Caden says, Mason, I recently made a trade the other day. 12-team, 2-quarterback, half PPR league, no tight end premium. I traded Kadarius Toney and James Cook for Dalton Schultz. Was this a good buy for Schultz? I recently realized that we had to move Dalton Schultz up those dynasty rankings. I had no idea why I had him so low because, I mean, even in my mind, like last night, maybe the day before, I don't know when, but I like tweeted out like who has more dynasty value in 2023, George Kittle or Dalton Schultz. I mean, if you look at the production this upcoming season for Schultz, it should be through the roof with the opportunity that he has in this offense. This is an offense that lost out on Amari Cooper. This is an offense that at the same time lost out on Cedric Wilson. That's going to make a difference. Michael Gallup tore his ACL like after Robert Woods last year, so we don't even know when he's coming back. I like the idea of paying up for Dalton Schultz. Kadarius Toney and his yards per route run from his rookie year does look like a pretty damn good receiver. James Cook, it will be in a great situation in 2023 whenever you don't have Devin Singletary under contract. I like it. I think it's a fair price point. I would love to know the opinion of some people in the comment section. Okay. So let's go through, and our next question coming out from Matt says, Drake London in a 2023 first for Breece Hall in a 2023 second. Probably holding on to London in the first. Big Lenny says, when will they do another puppy? My man, I wish I was important enough for them to tell me that, but sadly, I am not. Underdog Fantasy. It's freaking massive. I have no idea, my man. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Okay, so here I think we have almost the first decision of this draft. Do we just go ahead and grab a receiver, knowing that this tier is going to run out quickly and we can get someone like Isaiah Spiller possibly on the way back? Let's go ahead and let's take Kenny Golladay here. Oh my gosh, this is a beautiful team. Y'all got to give me some props here. We're out here live answering questions, drafting in the background, working everything with the stream, and crushing this draft. Let's go through, and I want to talk about this team just for a second. I apologize. If our team was bad, I would have kept my mouth shut. But we have Stefan Diggs, round 1. We took Diggs so we could get that running back value later on with Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott in the 4th. We get Mark Andrews, a blessing falling to us at pick 18. And then the luckiest thing we had this draft was Lamar Jackson making it to us at pick 55, pairing up Lamar and Mark Andrews. Could not be more excited about that. Then we get Juju, DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Allen Lazard, Kenny Golladay. Just wide receiver depth in a best ball format going to be key. And then we have Aaron Rodgers making it back to us at pick 114 somehow. Derek Carr went at pick 85 in this draft. We get Aaron Rodgers making it back to us at pick 114 to stack up with Allen Lazard. Oh, y'all got to. I'm getting better at these drafts, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're getting better at these. Okay. So now our next question coming out from JS Blaze says, maybe you've talked on this before, but what are your thoughts on including IDP in Dynasty? I think if you want to do it, it's probably a lot of fun. I know most people who get into IDP, I don't want to say they get addicted, but it's a rabbit hole that I personally can't go down. I mean, I'm already doing everything that I can. I've already talked about this, but hyper focusing in on the 200-person player pool that we are going to have just on the offensive side of it. So if I were to all of a sudden step into IDP, I feel like I'd be spreading myself too thin, and it would make my evaluation process almost worse overall. I think people can have a lot of fun with IDP. Of course, that's what fantasy football is for. It's to have fun. Just probably too much for me. Okay. So Austin says, I traded Darnell Mooney for Jerry Judy and a future third. What are your thoughts? I prefer Jerry Judy over Darnell Mooney. Great deal. Like I said, Jerry Judy's the wide receiver 1 in Denver. I don't care what big media tries to tell me. We're taking Jerry Judy. Nate John says, I got DK Metcalf in round 5 of a super flex startup yesterday. See, that's what I'm saying. I was the DK Metcalf hater whenever he was going in round 2 of startups. Like, I was the DK Metcalf hater at that price. But round 5, round 4 of startups where we've been seeing him go as of late, hell, I'm completely fine drafting him there. Okay, so let's find our next question. Chase says, would you rather have Najee Harris or Christian McCaffrey? Najee Harris, easily. I mean, with Najee's, they're surprisingly close together if you look at their age. Christian McCaffrey only 25. What, Najee Harris is like 24 this year, right? Let me look this up. I mean, God, we're getting good at these drafts. Ronald Jones on the way back, just getting pieces of elite offenses. Maybe I'm just getting lucky. Maybe I'm getting lucky, and we are thinking that we are good here. But let's pull this up because I am interested. I think that here's my guess. Christian McCaffrey, who was drafted in 2017. Obviously, Najee Harris drafted in 2021. My guess is Najee Harris is 14 months younger. Okay. 14 months younger, despite them being drafted 4 years apart. Najee Harris, age March 98. Okay. March 98. Christian McCaffrey's age June 96. Okay, so never mind. I was wrong. I was wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we are mistaking Christian McCaffrey with Joe Mixon. It's like a 20-month gap. I think we were off by like 6 months. But it is what it is. The point is Najee Harris is surprisingly old. But the thing is, at the same time, he is locked into having that longevity based on his contract. I mean, he goes round 1, so you have the 5th-year option as well. So you know exactly what you have with Najee Harris and his workload over the next 3 to 4 years. A very, very stable pick. Okay, so let's go through and find our next. Baca says, I recently traded Herbert for Patrick Mahomes straight up to the Mike Williams owner. I have McCole Hardman and Juju. Should I try to trade Christian Watson for Sky Moore? Yeah, if you can flip Christian Watson for Sky Moore on a Patrick Mahomes team, I definitely would. Great deal overall. I know it's the new thing. I know it's the cool thing to prefer Justin Herbert over Patrick Mahomes, but I'm lame. I'm going to be one of the old heads saying, you know what? I'll probably take the quarterback where we've seen the consistent elite level play since 2018. I'll probably go ahead and keep that player. Okay. So Luke coming out says, drop a like. Thank you for always showing up to these live streams, my man. Thomas says, if I'm running a 0 running back startup strategy, who are some deep running backs you think I should target? Okay, so some guys I would like targeting in a 0 running back dynasty startup build. I hate to say this because I spent the entire offseason criticizing him. Michael Carter Jr., if you can get him, like what, outside the top 15 rounds now? Oh, sign me up for that with Michael Carter Jr. He will have a receiving role at the beginning of the season. And I don't know if Noah does this to be nice. He goes Irv Smith Jr. over Robert Tonyan. So check this out. Now we are getting Robert Tonyan when we needed that second tight end. We have our tight ends quarterback stacked together. We got Lamar and Mark Andrews. We have Aaron Rodgers and Robert Tonyan as well. Oh, this is a beautiful team. Okay. I don't even know what we were on that before. I would say one of my favorite targets in a 0 RB build is going to be Michael Carter Jr. because he has the receiving role at the beginning of the season. Then Breece Hall will be the bell cow. Then he'll be the bell cow. But Michael Carter Jr. afterwards will be a handcuff level running back. And I know people are screaming at me in the comment section going, Mason, you clown. You told us the exact opposite of that right after the NFL draft. Well, after the NFL draft, you still had Michael Carter Jr. being drafted ahead of Alexander Madison. You still had him going after Tony Pollard. I'm sorry, next to Tony Pollard. Now that he's fallen, what, like 6 rounds from there? I think now it's a fine price to pay. Okay, so now let's go through and find our next question. Dog coming out says, hey, Mason, I was in an off-stream draft with you yesterday, and I took Drew Lock in the 6th by accident. Did you remember that? I do remember seeing someone that drafted Drew Lock, and I will say, after we logged off that live stream, I wanted to get as many puppy drafts going, so I have a couple computer monitors. I was in like 4 or 5 drafts at once, just spazzing out, like going as fast as I can getting those drafts. Okay, so let's find our next question. Ben coming out says, I traded DJ Moore and CeeDee Lamb for Jerry, Judy, and Najee Harris. Based on the bump that you were getting with the running back, I'm fine with it. It's difficult for me to ever tell someone to move off of DJ Moore or move off of CeeDee Lamb, but come on, Najee Harris is just a bona fide stud. Durgo says, Jerry, Judy, or Drake London in Dynasty. We are going to go London. Jacob says, is drafting CeeDee Lamb at the 111 in a 12-team Superflex Dynasty League a good choice? I personally don't think so. I mean, if we just walk through the options that I think you need to take over CeeDee Lamb, I think Najee Harris would be on that list. I think the elite level quarterbacks would as well in Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray. Maybe you could make the argument Watson. I'm going to have to stop talking about Watson, though. We're going to have to stop talking about that. You also need Kyle Pitts, Jonathan Taylor. Like, I can, off the top of my head, think of about 12 guys that I need over CeeDee Lamb in Dynasty, and I don't think you can make an argument against it. So, no, I don't think taking Lamb at the 111 in a super flex startup is a good choice. In a 1-quarterback league, completely different story. Okay. So, let's pull this up. We have 3 running backs, 6 receivers. And with this team, I think we waited long enough on RB to draft 6 of them. We're going to go 2 quarterbacks, 6 RBs, 8 wide receivers. Let's just go ahead and take KJ Osborne here. We'll just continue to grab best available wide receiver according to ADP, diversify this portfolio, build the construction that we like. Oh, this is drafting 101 here, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to flex on y'all like this. But let's go to our next one. And James says, considering I'm in need of a running back 2, I have Travis Etienne, Kareem Hunt, Chase Edmonds, and Donta Foreman. Do I draft Kenneth Walker or Drake London if they both dropped me at the 105, considering I have Kyle Pitts? Okay, I do not think that we need to be worrying about our team need in our rookie drafts. I think, hell, you may be completely fine at running back. There's an outside chance that you do have Travis Etienne turning into a running back 1 this season. Like, Travis Etienne can be a top 10 RB in fantasy. There's an outside chance that on top of this, Chase Edmonds leads his backfield in touches. What happens if Christian McCaffrey goes down? What happens if Nick Chubb goes down? Like, you have outs to have a great running back core without reaching on a rookie draft. I'm still going to go Drake London. Like I said, the only time I think it's acceptable to take Kenneth Walker over Drake London in a dynasty rookie draft will not be based on your team need. It'll be based on your league format. So if everything that I always talk about is a standard dynasty league, I view a standard dynasty league. Personally, I like to play deeper rosters. I play all start 11, start 12 leagues. But I think a standard dynasty format at this point, 12-team super flex, start 10 with minimum 3 wide receivers and minimum 2 flex spots. So if it's a standard league like that, I think you go London. But if it's a shallow format, like a 10-team league, where possibly you only start 2 wide receivers and 2 flexes, or you only start 3 wide receivers and 1 flex, there I think you can pivot over and you can go with the running back. Okay, so now our next question coming out from Camilo says, do you believe Ayuk can continue his pace he finished last season? If you look at Brandon Ayuk, it's really funny. He was the wide receiver 17 on a points per game basis his rookie season. Let me pull up his chapter in our draft guide just so I'm correct in this. Yeah, he was the wide receiver 17 his rookie year. And if we go ahead and we filter out how impressive his rookie season was in terms of the competition, the dominance he had over the other players in his offense, he had 8 targets a game and he had 22% of his team's targets per game. The only wide receivers to ever do that as a rookie since 2010. Odell Beckham Jr., Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Jalen Waddle, there's a bust, Calvin Benjamin, Brandon Ayuk, Sammy Watkins, Mike Williams, Justin Blackmon. I think Ayuk definitely has the talent. Y'all know I love me some Trey Lance. I will say I'm worried about Lance in terms of his overall passing game ability, although I think Lance is going to be elite in fantasy with his rushing capability. Maybe he's not great for Ayuk. Okay, so let's go through and let's find our next question. Luke says, as you may have saw on Locals, a few days ago, I traded Juju Smith-Schuster, Jahan Dotson in a future third for Jerry Judy so I can get that stack with Russ. Oh, my man. I like the idea of going and getting Jerry Judy on a Russell Wilson. I feel like we may be overpaid here. Just based on where we're looking at Juju Smith-Schuster going in redraft leagues. Jahan Dotson was a wide receiver drafted in the first round. He was hyper productive his final 2 years in college. I feel like that's a tough price to pay. Okay, do we go Joshua Palmer or do we take a run? I think we go Palmer as our last wide receiver, and then we were going to go ahead and we were just going to hammer through 3 running backs at the end. Yeah, let's go Joshua Palmer. Let me flex on everyone with this team, okay? I got to do it. Very rarely do I ever draft a good team, whether it's Dynasty, whether it's redraft. Y'all know I'm famous for being a horrible fantasy football player. And look at this draft. Oh, this is beautiful. Diggs, 107. Andrews, 206. Barkley, Zeke. Lamar to stack up with Mark Andrews. Hammer wide receiver value. Juju round 6. Hopkins round 7. Burks round 8. Allen Lazard round 9. Get Aaron Rodgers falling to us. Obviously, it's not because I'm good or anything. It's just because I'm lucky. Had Aaron Rodgers falling to us here in the middle of the 10th to stack up with Allen Lazard. And on top of that, Robert Tonyan falls to us in the 13th round. Continue to hammer in some wide receiver value here. And I think we are going to get some running backs that we like making it back to us with our next selection. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. Okay, let's go through and let's find our next question. Our next question coming out from Scott says, will there be a puppy 2? I missed the party. Yes, my man. I promise you, Underdog will get out another puppy draft. At least I shouldn't say I promise. I would assume that they do. I mean, they had over 100,000 drafts kicked off in what, like 2 to 3 weeks. There's demand for it. I'm pretty sure they're going to put one out. Okay, so CXK says, Dynasty 12-team league, Travis Etienne or Aaron Jones in a future first. I would prefer Aaron Jones in the future first, honestly, easily as well. Let's go find our next one. Benjamin says, Lamb or A.J. Brown in 2 seconds. How about Waddle for 2 late 2023 first in a 1 quarterback format? I would trade Jalen Waddle for 2 future first. I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, they're late, so we need... No. Like I've said so many times before, I think that we shouldn't be trying to project those picks out. I think that we should just take the variance that's with them, unless it's like, obviously, an extreme example. We all know that there's probably that one team in your league that somehow, some way was able to get Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Jonathan Taylor all in the same roster. Unless it's that team, I think we just call it a random 2023 first, and we go ahead and we trade Jalen Waddle for 2 of them. Okay. Let's prepare for our next pick here. Okay, so Terrace Marshall goes pick 185. Name that you do not see getting drafted very often. At what point would we take Njoku? I think when we have Mark Andrews and Robert Tonyan, we don't want to go with another one, especially if Khalil Herbert's a fine value here. Herbert's not going to have a role this upcoming season unless David Montgomery goes down. I know some people, I've heard some people saying that, oh, Khalil Herbert impressed last year. That means Khalil Herbert is going to see some opportunity and split this backfield possibly with David Montgomery. Obviously, nobody's expecting that he's going to get 50-50 touches, but I'll tell you right now, no, you're never going to see Herbert startable in games where David Montgomery was good to go. I mean, I went from being a David Montgomery hater for the longest time, where all of a sudden now I'm going to be fine with the man. Because if we go through and if we look at Khalil Herbert in his carries per game, once you had David Montgomery making it back from injury. So this is after you had a very impressive mark from Herbert. He was very impressive in Chicago, and they knew what they had. They went through and gave Khalil Herbert 4, 1, 4, 4, 1, 0, 2, 2, 4 carries. That was the game log. That's what it looked like for Herbert his final year. I'm not concerned with that. I do think he's a fine selection here in the middle of the 16th, though, as a handcuff. We're trying to win 70. No, this is the $2 million draft. We're trying to win $2 million here so we can take a swing at some upside. Okay, so now let's find our next question coming out from Pasha. Says 12-team Superflex full PPR, 6 point per passing touchdown. Start 10. Should we move Javonte Williams and Matthew Stafford for Jamar Chase? Oh, I love me Matthew Stafford. I think it's a fair deal. I'm not even going to really answer that. I think it's up to you, my man, in your roster construction. But one thing I do want to answer, because I've had a ton of questions regarding this, and we wrote this up in depth in our Dynasty research book, available on flogfantasy.com. But when you move from a 4-point passing touchdown league to a 6-point passing touchdown league, I don't necessarily think that you need to increase the overall value of quarterbacks. I think quarterbacks, you should be viewing them almost the same in both. But the kind of quarterbacks you are targeting, that is what will change. Instead of going through and targeting quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, someone that's going to give you some rushing upside, instead of looking at quarterbacks in that range, what we should be looking to do is we should be looking to pivot over to those pocket passing options. Someone like Matthew Stafford is the perfect example of that, where Stafford's going to have almost an impossible time ever outscoring Jalen Hurts from a points per game standpoint in a 4-point passing touchdown league, because fantasy football is not real football. You have that cheat code with the rushing. Stafford would legitimately have to lead the NFL in passing. Like if we go through and if we look at fantasy football finishes this past season, what's hilarious is you had Derek Carr as a top 5 quarterback in passing yards. Derek Carr was a top 5 quarterback in passing yards. However, if you go through and you look at where he actually finished in a 4-point passing touchdown format, it is going to be embarrassing. The man was the quarterback. Oh, dear God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. He was the quarterback 17. But when you're playing in that 6-point passing touchdown format, those pocket passing options that win with volume, they're going to have a shot to at least fight back, at least make some noise against those rushing, those mobile quarterbacks. Okay. So our next question coming out from Trevor says, I traded Debo and Cordell Patterson for T. Higgins and a second. I honestly think this is a fine trade. I know most people are going to prefer Debo Samuel and Cordell Patterson, as most people are going to prefer Debo Samuel over T. Higgins in Dynasty. I honestly don't necessarily think that there's a difference between the two. I personally could be talked into going T. Higgins. And I know that's crazy. Trust me, I get it. I understand. I am a crazy person. I've lost my mind. But at the end of the day, you were looking at T. Higgins in such a stable situation going forward in Cincinnati. I think this overall offense can get better. And the man was a top 12 wide receiver last year, had a higher target share than Jamar Chase on a per game basis, had way more air yards than Jamar Chase on a per game basis. I think there's some strong arguments for him. Okay, let's go through. Let's take a running back that nobody agrees with me on. Fine, I'm probably going to lose a lot of money continuing to draft him this year, but we will go Samaje Perine as someone that's not being drafted in these. And I do think Chris Evans, I talked to Scott, is someone who's a Bengals fan, someone who's probably listening to every Bengals podcast that the man could get his hands on. And he was telling me that while, yes, Chris Evans probably going to be the running back too, he will have a role in like kickoffs and stuff. If Joe Mixon were to go down, it's most likely Samaje Perine that would take that workload. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to continue to draft Samaje Perine sometimes in the final round here, especially if we're looking at running backs. It would have been a lot nicer if we had Hassan Haskins. It would have been a lot nicer if we had Donta Foreman making it back to us. But let me show off that draft room and let me give everyone a massive thank you for coming out to the live stream. Like I said, we're going to continue to do this a ton. So please go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. You can find the link in the live chat. We're doing it every single day. And subscribe to the channel if you want to have a shot at your question getting answered next time. I'm sorry I did not get through all of them, but we answered a lot, and my voice is killing me. I'm pretty sure y'all can tell by that, but I can't even make a video today. My voice hurts so bad, so proud of myself for getting through this stream. But thank you again, guys. I appreciate y'all. I promise you we'll be streaming again tomorrow. Don't you worry. We'll be streaming the next day. We'll be streaming the next day. We'll be streaming the next day. We'll be streaming every single day. I appreciate y'all.